Welcome, Andrew.
I'm going to try and do this without slides, and it very much builds on the presentation that Matthias gave. For a long time as HR, we've been challenging on adding value within the organization, or more clearly, to add value for money. And as HR people, I feel we focused on the bottom part of that equation, the money, the cost. When I'm teaching people analytics, one of the things I note is that people tend to focus on what's easy to measure, and costs are easy to measure. In terms of looking at the value our workforces provide, that's difficult, right? It's really difficult to measure productivity, for example. But I think we've hit a point, certainly over the last 5-8 years since the crisis, where we've squeezed all the value out. We're right at the end of that sort of curve of depreciating marginal returns. And we're not going to be able to squeeze more cost out of our organizations without doing damage to the organizations. And I see that in the sort of work that we're doing, where employees are telling them, we're working 120%, we can't do it 140%. So I think HR needs to focus a lot more on the value part. And there's a few ways that we can do that. We heard about the L&D and the talent programs. Certainly, adding development and adding that across the organization is one way of adding value. I was having conversations before here about engagement, and that's something that we as HR have been focusing on probably since about 2000. Employee engagement, and we say how much extra productivity our engaged employees have, and we spend vast amounts of money every year on engagement programs, and we see a flat result. We spend 400,000 or whatever it is for a large organization, and they do a survey and they say, oh, we need to do some workshops to find out what we need to do. Right? You've all been there. So is it just me saying this? Well, no, actually, the investors are starting to say it. Right? If you look at the investors, such as the sustainability investors, we've got the DJSI here in Zurich. They're focusing very much on a multi-stakeholder view of business, right? The sort of single maximizing shareholder value days have gone. As one of my advisors, who was chairman of a financial services firm, said, everybody hates corporate capitalism these days, right? They're wanting to see a multi-stakeholder view. Which of you, or who of you work in an organization with more than 250 people in the UK? Yeah. Quite a few views. If your organization has more than 250 employees in the UK Corporate Governance Code said in July of this year that you need to now bring employees into the decision-making process. Right. Arguably, the Anglo-Saxon world was a long way off. We've had this within the Works Council in Germany and other places for some time. I think what the difference, though, is that we can start using technology, and this technology that Matthias says, to do it. What we're seeing with organizations is that when they start asking employees about business questions, they capture a vast amount of information. Right? We have organizations saying, what can we do to improve customer experience in our stores? And they ask 60,000 people globally who work in the stores. Right? Before, in the last few years, this was really hard data to deal with, so we couldn't. You could do qualitative analysis. But the sort of AI technology that Matthias was talking about and that we're involved with can process this information as good as a human, but can do it in a fraction of time and cost. What we see is remarkably different. People talk about things that are different than they've ever talked about in surveys. In fact, you'd have never asked about it. We had one organization who said you could change the music in the stores. And we dug down, and for cost savings, they got to non-licensed music. Those comments were quite rich. They were rich in emotion. They were saying, it's really upsetting our customers. It's really upsetting us. So next month, they change it. Right? Managers can see it. My chairman said, if I'm in a large organization, I've got this middle managers. In fact, if you're the chairman of a big organization, the people closest to your customers are probably the ones furthest away from you in the hierarchy. right? If every level takes 50% out, there's less than 2% of the information gets to you at the top. So what we're saying is that we can use technology, we can use these advances in AI. They don't necessarily need to be about cutting out jobs, but they can be changing the economic curve in a way that we can do things that were uneconomic to do before. I'm sure we'll discuss this later.